Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and specifically welcome back to my Masterclass series where I go above and beyond my regular tank reviews to help you with things like 3-marking your tank, or just getting more ace tankers, or just taking your gameplay to the next level. I think the Panzer VII is a clinically underrated heavy tank inside the game, and the secret is just playing like a fool. So today, your resident clown is going to help you get there. So how is the Panzer VII performing in the game recently? Well, it's right in the middle of the pack. It's got a 48.79% win ratio, which means it's only just behind tanks like the VZ55, IS-7, and AMX M454. Which means that it surprises me that this tank gets such a bad name. One of the reasons why I think the Panzer VII is overlooked is because it doesn't have any best attributes in any areas. It doesn't have as good armor as a Maus, doesn't have as high alpha damage as an E100, isn't as fast as something like a Kampfpanzer. Yet, when you look at this thing statistically, it doesn't have any problems either. Not the best, not the worst damage per minute, accuracy, gun handling, top speed, which gets better with the field mods. Its armor is thick, definitely abusive against tier 8 tanks, has a big old slab of hit points, and decent view range to boot. And because it weighs 120 tons, it can throw its weight around on the battlefield. The main thing to master with the Panzer VII is how the hull armor works. A lot of people don't realize just how good this lower plate is, even when you're not angled at all. Even 258 millimeters of pen only has about a 30% chance to be able to go through the lower plate from this angle. And if you angle it like this, then unless they're loading gold, and even if they do, you still have a really good chance to bounce. Accordingly, what you want to do with the Panzer VII is not actually side scrape, which is weird for a tank which has a rear mounted turret. Because when you do, you expose the main weakness of this tank, which is this horrible side triangle here. As soon as you try to side scrape, a knowledgeable player will put round after round into here. But what happens if, for example, you come around the corner like this? So front ways, exposing that lower plate. Well, unless you're dealing with very high penetration or tier 10 tank destroyers, you can do this and just laugh at your opponents. As it's a heavy tank with 5 crew members, none of your crew on this entire vehicle are under pressure. Just get a regular crew, you don't even need a 0 skill, and focus on things like brothers in arms, repairs, recon. On your gunner, you probably want to have designated target for lighting your opponents up at decent distances, but snapshot and deadeye will come in handy. Driver, this is one of the roles that you might want to have a 0 skill crew on, because preventative maintenance helps with having that vulnerable engine at the front. Off-road driving can help, and smooth ride with clutch braking, and I love controlled impact on this thing for bullying some of my opponents. And for your loader, I do like intuition on this vehicle for saving a few credits and loading out HE shells, and you must have safe stowage as this thing likes to get ammo racked. Equipment wise on this vehicle, I have 2 builds for this tank. One is going to be durability, turbo vents. I know I'm dropping the gun rammer for quite a few maps that I play this tank on. That's because I really don't think it's a damage per minute focused vehicle. I don't mind lowering my damage per minute on this vehicle to make sure that I have those tracks to keep moving and to keep wiggling the lower plate or the side weak point. And the turbo just allows you to start to get really scary with the top speed limit of this tank. With a regular turbo, you can go at 40 kilometers an hour, which is tremendous for a vehicle that weighs 120 tons. And I feel like I get value from the vents in all aspects of the tank. However, I do have a second build where I'll be dropping out the turbo and taking a gun rammer for when I'm ending up on city maps, and I don't really need to get around as quickly. Field mods on this vehicle, it is pretty darn simple. I personally prefer to take the all-terrain suspension to improve my speed. I'd like to take the accuracy improvement, the view range improvement for sure. This one, easy pick. Take the top speed benefit, but be warned, your crew will get knocked out more frequently, and if you find this happening, you might want to take a premium med kit to compensate for that. And for the final field mod, look, it's very tempting to think, oh, I've got a slow turret, I should take the turret traverse speed. Don't, or you will get ammo racked so many times. Take the internal module durability. It will also help the repair time on your tracks, which you can get down to a ridiculous sub 5 seconds with using the durability equipment as well. Anyway, with all of that said and done, let's jump into some games. Okay, so firstly, we're going to be rolling out on Abbey, and I want to highlight what I said earlier, and that is, you have to play this tank like a bit of an idiot. If you don't, you're just not going to be as efficient as you could be. This thing is all about throwing its weight around, putting pressure up on its opponents, and not doing what they want you to do. What the enemies want you to do is to just sit there, expose your side armor, or sit still and expose your lower plate. So I like to, play my Panzer VII a little bit differently. Why not be the bully? The Kranvang may think, oh, look at me, I'm the god tier hold down tank behind this vehicle. The 60 TP might think, oh, I've got all the alpha damage in the world. But if you just plow forwards in a big, fat, chonky tank like this, and do what I said with making sure you expose your lower plate round the corner, of course, unless you're playing against things that have a really good heat pen and know how to be able to compensate and go through that lower plate. Or if you overexpose your side armor like an idiot against the Kranvang, then you've got to watch out for that. But you can see, I can just put my front round the corner. I'll absorb the punishment for my team. The Kranvang's wasting his shells because he's feeling under pressure. And now we've taken a situation where, to all intents and purposes, we're stuck against a 60 TP who wants to try and turn it into a skill-based fight, right? Within that regard. And a Kranvang who wants to sit hull down. And you just got to get in for your team. And this poor Kranvang was probably thinking, oh, I get to finally sit hull down and absolutely smash this game of World of Tanks. They've actually given up trying to shoot me because they realize they can't go through my lower plate. However, of course, if they were more knowledgeable, they would realize that when I go like this, I expose my side. So that's why you should only really do it when you're going around a corner. Let me clarify. No, I mean, you should always angle the lower plate on this tank. Always, 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 for the reasons that I showed you. However, what I'm trying to suggest is that if you see that your opponent is aiming at your side, then turn your lower plate outwards. And if you see them aiming at the other side, force them to shoot at your lower plate and you've got more chance than if you're exposing that horrible side armor. But I really can't emphasize enough that I have a 64% win ratio overall in this tank playing it solo because I play it like a bit of an idiot. It just seems to absolutely perform compared to a lot of my other heavy tanks. And sorry that I just realized I was huge on your screen for the entirety of this gameplay so far. I fixed it about 2 or 3 minutes in, right? I'll try and remember that for the other ones that we got coming up. But just play this thing like a bit of a goof. The more you play it like a goof, the better it is. There's one little thing that I want to highlight about this tank as well, and that is that it only gets 5 degrees of gun depression over the front, but it gets 7 degrees of gun depression over the side. And so you will have to kind of over-angle this vehicle occasionally if you want to get the full extent of that gun depression. And we've just snowballed this game, really. We've got forwards, we've used the turbo, durability, vents to be able to apply pressure to the enemy team. The gun rammer would have been nice to be able to get the extra shots in, but I do feel like I prefer the extra mobility on this vehicle. And the reason why I take vents over something like a gun rammer on a vehicle like this is to have that little bit of extra view range, to have that little bit of extra ground resistances, to have the extra traverse speed on the turret and on the hull. All of those things, in my opinion, really do add up on a vehicle like this. And I would far rather have 3% to everything, including the accuracy and the aim time on this vehicle to hit more of my shots than to try and improve one of the weakest aspects of this tank, which is the damage per minute. This tank, for me, it's not about the damage per minute, it's about surviving to allow your team to push through, or surviving to be able to get that extra shot in. And yeah, you can tell what I was thinking, surviving to try and push this guy into the water. But he's a good player, he's got 2 marks of excellence, he knows what he's doing. The IS-7 is going to assist me, and I wonder if I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot, boring, but he knew exactly how to do with the side shuffle out the way. So 8,000 combined for the Panzer 7 in just over 6 minutes. It's really that simple. Just expose that lower plate, hit your shots. It doesn't always work out, but when it does, boy does this tank feel good. So now the challenge of Malinovka. So when I'm playing on Malinovka, I would absolutely love to get to the windmill. If I can manage to get to the windmill, then I can side scrape. And not just side scraping, but I can hide my side weak point while I don't side scrape and just shove my front round the corner to hopefully bait some shots to be able to make some shots. However, I did notice the enemy were quite slow getting up the hill, and considering we have such a tremendous force that are up there, I thought that I could take the shortcut. Now let me clarify, you never want to go below your opponents in this position unless you have a strong force above. But if you do have a strong force above, then your opponents will never be able to truly turn to be able to get you in the side. And if that's the case, then you can kind of accelerate the gameplay by making your way into this position, and it can be, well, truly powerful. So we're going to start off with a good shot into the tracks of the Rinoceronte. I was hoping that maybe somebody would be able to take advantage of the tracks. It looks like a lot of people have also got the same idea as me. Unfortunately, if you have too many people use this position, then it becomes an absolute cluster of death where the artillery will be able to take advantage of you. And if you don't have any pressure from the high ground, then your opponents will never have to turn their turret. And if they never have to turn their turret, then it's going to turn into an absolute unmitigated disaster. So in this game, I am using bounty equipment now. You're seeing a game from where I was pushing the 3 mark on this vehicle. Now I'm again using durability, turbo, and I'm using vents on this vehicle. And I was thinking, shall I slide down here? Or shall I actually just drive towards my opponents, use my awesome armor, and then I can use this rock and then just go, all right, what now, boys? I mean, if they want to turn themselves to me... Oh, that was an awful shot. I didn't quite have the gun depression over the front, and I should have turned the tank to the side there. Misplay by me. But if they want to turn their tanks to me, then they're going to expose themselves to everyone from above. I can get forwards, I can hopefully get some vision going, I can hopefully start to put some rounds into the side of the 60 TP. Now let me clarify, if these guys do fire gold, they'll easily be able to go through my lower plate. When I say easily, probably about 50% of the time. So don't think that you can literally just sit out in front of everything with this vehicle. But look, you can see that I'm just trying to bait the 60 TP. Luckily for me, it looks like they whiff and they hit the ridgeline instead. But this is kind of the crazy stuff that you can do in the Panzer VII. And I really think that people who think too much about this vehicle will never truly get the results they could do in this tank. You've got to be a little bit mad. You've got to be a little bit crazy. You've got to try and get forwards, at least in my opinion. And I think that the more that you try to play this tank sensibly, the more that your plays become predictable, the easier it will be for your opponents to take advantage of those weaknesses on the side, to take advantages of just putting gold rounds straight into your lower plate. And just look at this thing's armor. Now, of course, I haven't been hit by any gold rounds so far. It's been multiple mags of regular rounds from the TVP and a regular mag from the T57 Heavy. But as I showed you, the TVP's like 300 heat pen still isn't really going to challenge this vehicle all of that much consistently. And then now it's just a case of just plowing forwards, hopefully using our view range. And look, the BZ-75 on my team, well, they couldn't last 2 minutes in this forest. And just look how this thing is handling. It just doesn't really matter. Of course, the Foch 155 clunking in the side. That's definitely something else. I'm hoping the Foch 155 is going to run out of ammo. He'll run out of ammo, right? Please tell me he's going to run out of ammo. Am I going to take the third one as well? Oh, no, it looks like I'm okay. Great. And oh dear, Mr. STRV, you seem to be in the wrong neck of the woods, going down to a grisly demise, or getting hit by multiple artillery. We've blocked 5,800 damage this game, and I was thinking, yeah, we've got to drown him. We've got to drown him. Oh, poor little Swedish ship. This is not going to end up very well for you. So I'm just going to hold him there. Actually, I'm going to go for the shot on the top of his tank. You know what? If I'm going for my marks, I'm not going to get any... I'm not going to get a mark if I don't shoot this tank, right? I just decided to plow here. And I don't think the STRV could actually manage to shoot back if I put him underwater there. As easy as that. That was 7,700 combined with 6,000 damage blocked as well. That's just the Panzer VII in a nutshell. Be aggressive. Take the fight to the enemy team. And of course, well, I'm not going to show you any gameplay today where it is playing against Tier 8 vehicles. What do you think this thing does against Tier 8 vehicles when they can't shoot the side armor? Yeah, they're not going to do very well. Now look, I'm sure a lot of you are saying, oh QB, when I play the Panzer VII, nobody shoots regular rounds at me. Look, it's like that for everyone. It's like that for me as well. And you're going to see in this game what exactly happens when that is the case, and how we can hopefully adapt to the scenario and try and figure things out. So you're seeing me here sitting on, I think I'm sitting on about 94% marks of excellence. So I was hoping for a big game. I was hoping to get forwards, and I was maybe just a little bit too hungry to try and grab that. I'm using, again, durability with turbo and vents on this tank, which will mean that I've got good reverse speed, good forward speed. I can catch my opponents out. Managed to bounce a heat round right off the lower plate from the E100. And keep in mind, the E100 has like 330 millimeters of heat pen. So that shows you just how powerful it can be to over-angle this vehicle. Sorry, little chart, I got to get back here for a second. Unfortunately, I'm not angled enough there, and the E100 puts one into my lower plate. T57 Heavy bounces his first gold round. Hopefully he's seeing that he's not going to catch me in the side, and you can see he's aiming at my side. I'm trying to wiggle, and I figured out I just got to drop back from this. So we managed to bounce 1 out of 3 of the gold rounds from the T57 Heavy, 1 out of 2 of the gold rounds from the E100, and I realize, okay, yeah, I can't really just hang around there. So let's get back. Let's create a little bit of distance so that hopefully our opponents aren't going to be able to have such clean shots into my plates, at least. But I also still want to try and be the stupid Panzer VII at the front. Sometimes, however, when you are playing against people who are liberally applying the gold, you do have to be a little bit more sensible. And one of the most annoying things about this tank is when you do go hold down, that the turret isn't perfect at all. I absolutely hate the turret on this vehicle. Your mantlet has issues. You have issues with just to the left and to the right of the gun as well. So you've got to watch out for that. Let me highlight exactly what I'm saying. So for some reason, this area here gets shot a lot, and then your opponents can just shoot you straight in the mantlet. However, that's why I love to play so silly and to expose my hull armor, because I know at least with my hull armor, it's not going to be so finicky like it is going to be with the turret. So wow, look at this T57 Heavy. Manages to put a couple rounds into me earlier. Now it's getting above us to try and go after us. However, I'm just trying to work with this T95, and this T95 gives me the perfect opportunity to hide my lower plate and to hopefully be able to get shots over. A nice easy one there into the AMX M454. So this Char Future 4 wants to go around the corner, and you know what? I am down to clown. I am down to clown, boys and girls. If I see that a Char's going in and wants to try and push the scenario, so will I. I'm looking to see, like, do I go for this guy's lower plate? Do I go for his upper plate right now? But yeah, of course, the lower plate is going to be the better option. And then, unfortunately, I get tagged once by the Emil. But I know I can face hug this Super Conqueror. He's going to get bored and try and shoot at someone else. And when I see that happen, I'm going to try and track him and hope that I get some delicious, tasty tracking, which will help for our Mark's progress. So while I did tank one from the Emil there in the side, every single round that has hit my tank in this game has been gold so far. But we still block enough, and we still managed to do 4,500 combined. Nearly, if we're rounding to the nearest 100, right? And that is still not a bad result. If you do that in all of your games, you are going to get a decent win ratio. And we're not done yet, though, because this game is darn close. But this is where this Panzer VII gun does feel pretty reliable. The gold rounds on this tank have 1,350 meters a second shell velocity, and the regular rounds have 1,100. I do really like the gold on this vehicle. So if you do have a spare loader slot, yeah, intuition can help on this tank to be able to switch between your shells if you want to save a few credits. But for a lot of you out there who will be going for your third mark of excellence, just load the gold right, and then you won't need intuition at all. That was a cheeky shot. I feathered to be able to shoot up into the flaps of the Emil 2 there and to be able to overmatch them as well. And that Emil 2 was very surprised by that, and now is on the back foot. And because they're on the back foot, that's going to allow us to advance. And I really want to have my opponents close to me in the Panzer VII. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have them at long range where they have penetration drop-off on their AP and their APCR shells, and it is nice to have them at decent distance where the relatively okay accuracy on this tank can hopefully be able to deal with them. But having them up close and personal means that they don't have a chance to escape. And also, this thing's armor it's better than pretty much everything that it's going to be playing against, apart from kind of like the Emil 2's turret there. Luckily, the Emil doesn't manage to get a shot through my turret, but unfortunately the Conway does. But we don't manage to pull off the second shot there on the Conway. But we do spot a Leopard prototype, and we get 1,200 assistance on him with some big old shells. But oh gosh, the Conway came back up once again and slams another gold round into us. So full gold loaded against us this game. But still, we've managed to block 2k, even though it's a full gold team that we're playing against. And we've done 6,200 combined so far, although from a Mark's perspective, remember the tracking and the assistance don't add up, so that's not good. So we know that there's a Sheridan around here somewhere, right? It's just about trying to figure out. Seeing how I get spotted, I'm like, that's a bit suspicious. That's really suspicious. So where is this Sheridan? If I got spotted so early, I got a sneaking suspicion he must be in these bushes. So which one is it? Is it going to be this bush? Come on, Mr. Sheridan, where are you? Are you right in the middle of the bush? Oh, the shell disappears. Mr. Sheridan, yeah, he realizes his numbers are up, so he decides to take a shot to see if he can go through us with his heat round. The 280 pen that he has is not enough to challenge the front of my armor, and I felt really happy about that. This was an ultra close game. We were down on hit points before we made that kill. Now we're starting to get even, but luckily we've got guns in the game, and we are trying to make our 82 hit points work. Now, including the blind fire, we've got to be above 7,000 combined for this, so I was starting to get really happy. The Mark of Excellence requirements on this tank is actually really low, I think because a lot of casual players play it, but also I don't think that people just do the right things with it. I just don't think that they have a grasp on how to use the armor, and they get frustrated by it. But of course, look at the amount that we've taken here from all of the gold ones. Oh, lovely, right into the side of the Conway. And that means now there's going to be at least 7. Oh, actually, if not an 8k combined game, excluding the blind fire that we put into the Sheridan. So we know we're at about 8.5, and just got to hope now that this leopard doesn't go through us. And the first round that wasn't gold that hit our vehicle was actually an HE round. We're going to get forwards. We're going to ram the leopard for a 400, not quite enough to finish them off. And the 705 shuts them down. There you go. That was 9,000 combined that we saw. And remember, we managed to get a little bit of blind on the Sheridan as well, which was enough to get our 3rd Mark of Excellence on the Panzer VII. And you gotta love getting your 3rd Mark of Excellence, as well as getting an ace tanker, as well as doing 9,600 combined, and still making a profit. As well, we did fire some gold. We didn't fire too much of it. That is a feels good game. So the results from our Panzer VII session. I played 22 games in the last 120 days, 81% wins, 3,680 damage per game. But for the actual marking session, that was 4,600 damage per game and 5,000 W and 8. I just have no idea why people are not performing better in this tank. Maybe it's because they're not idiots. Well, take it from a professional clown on the internet. That is the secret to doing well in this vehicle. So you heard it here. Go forth, play like a Muppet, in an underrated and underplayed tank. It's one of the best things about it is taking a tool like that, which is underrated, lulling your opponents into a false sense of security, and boy, you'll be surprised how good it feels when you come out on top as the underdog. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was my masterclass of the Panzer VII. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments if there's anything that you'd like to add about this German Tier 10 heavy tank. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Monday, I'm going to be going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with brand new drop tokens. So come along, pick up some fat loot, and spend it in game for some awesome prizes. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.